Chairman, as I'm thinking about this topic and how to defend our subsea cables, one of the things that I'm thinking about is obviously we can harden the cables along our shores a lot easier than we can, defend and harden where they go to, right across the sea to other countries, allies of ours. Have any of you guys done a cost analysis is it cheaper for us to actually harden these cables with everything that goes with that? Or is it cheaper for us to just build up our ability and our fleet to repair these cables? Mr. Strong?
Yes, sir. Thank you for that question. About 12% of the world's cable mileage is buried, and that accounted for 60% of the time to lay it, or essentially the cost. It's hugely expensive to bury it. It's typically only done in shallow areas or areas with other seabed industries, like fishing. Now, you could mandate that it gets buried even further, but then you have to think through the economics of that. What is going to provide us more protection? If we say you bury it the whole way, that's the cost of 3 cables. I would guarantee you that you would have more resilience by building 3 cables rather than having one that is buried the entire way. I also don't know of the physical constraints on armoring a cable at deep sea. There are limits to the winch power on the cable, so as it's laid, and certainly if it were need to be recovered, it might simply be impossible. And finally, hardening always sounds like a great thing. And these cables, this is an actual cable. This is what it is at deep sea. Shallow end, you have steel armor around it, but really that's more to protect against environmental problems like rock chafing. Steel armoring around a cable is not going to stop an anchor. So you need diversity. That's the number one way to protect.
Thank you. I yield back.
Thank the gentleman from Arizona. Mr. Frazier, if you'd like to offer some remarks, but also I would love for you to touch on AI and what that's going to do with our need for additional bandwidth. Obviously, if you want to touch on energy demand, but also, of course, the hardening that goes therein. Recognize the gentleman for 4 minutes.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Chairman. And I think just to start, and I certainly will get to AI, I want to emphasize that, as you pointed out in your opening remarks, we've been here before. We've had reports from 2004, for example, from DHS, basically enumerating every policy proposal we heard here today, and we've punted the issue to subsequent Congresses. And so I would just emphasize that, to me, the developments we're seeing in China with respect to their drone capabilities in particular should be regarded as a sort of subsea Sputnik moment that we're living through right now. If we don't act and make sure that we're protecting Taiwan and make sure we're protecting our allies and make sure we're defending our own undersea cable infrastructure, we may be sitting in this room again in 2035, having the same conversation. So I do think this needs to be a priority because, in particular, we're going to see this increase in bandwidth demand only increase with our reliance on AI. If you talk to Meta officials, one of their main data center executives made a fantastic line, which is, a data center without the undersea cable system is just a warehouse. We are seeing billions, soon trillions of dollars across the AI industry being spent on these data centers, and to not see the undersea cable system as a key component of the wisdom of those investments is missing out on just the essential role we have to make sure we're leaning into there. And then finally, I would say that we may not be as reliant on China and Chinese infrastructure today as we have been in the past, but that's certainly not true of strategic partners around the world. We need to be studying and paying close attention to the digital Silk Road, specifically in the Middle East and North Africa, where China is experiencing tremendous success in getting other countries to buy into its cable infrastructure and to broader economic and technological infrastructure. And then I would emphasize that perhaps outside of the confines of this meeting, paying greater attention to international law is something that we should lend support to with respect to countries like Estonia, Poland and Finland. They are trying to see an expansion in our interpretation, for example, of what it means to defend national sovereignty in the EEZ and outside of territorial waters. But finally, I would just say really taking the lowest hanging fruit first and starting to make progress on these fronts by, for example, updating the penalties in the Submarine Cable Act of 1888 to make sure that people can actually be deterred.
Well, I want to thank